Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, Story 30.
We begin with a man named Li Hua. He is a wealthy landowner living in Changzhou, entering his 50s. And by all secular earthly metrics, Li has won the game of life.
He really has.
He has sprawling tracts of land. He has vaults full of money. He commands respect.
Yet, if we look at the cultural context of 17th century China, arriving at your 50s with wealth but no male heir, well, that was seen as a spiritual dead end.
Wow, a dead end.
Yeah, it wasn't just a matter of passing on your estate. It was fundamentally about ancestor worship. Without an heir to burn incense and offer sacrifices, a person's spirit and the spirits of all their ancestors would literally starve in the afterlife.
It is so heavy.
Yeah.
And his life is defined entirely by a gaping hole. He and his wife did have a daughter named Xiaowei.
Right, shall we?
And the source text describes her as exceptionally beautiful, elegant, and just the absolute center of her parents' universe.
Oh.
They doted on her in a way that almost eclipsed their need for a son.
Which is saying something for that era.
Exactly. But then, at the age of 14, she is struck by a sudden violent illness and dies.
The phrasing used in the translation is haunting, actually. It says her death leaves the courtyard and the curtains of their home cold and desolate.
Cold and desolate, man.
It completely drains the color from their existence. I mean, they are in their 50s, entering their twilight years, and the sole focus of their love has just been wiped out.
It is a suffocating, paralyzing grief. And it's into that absolute vacuum of despair that Li Hua takes a concubine, hoping against hope. After a year or so, she gives birth to a son.
Finally.
Right. They name him Zur, which translates to Pearl Boy. And the text notes that Li treats this boy like a precious, fragile jade artifact. He's completely, blindingly obsessed with him. But there's a massive catch.
A very tragic catch. The boy grows up to be physically handsome, quite robust in his body, but he is profoundly disabled.
Right.
The story tells us that even when Zur reaches 5 or 6 years old, he cannot speak properly. His speech is entirely stunted.
Yeah.
Furthermore, he is intellectually impaired to the point where he cannot tell the difference between beans and wheat. He requires constant, intense care.
And yet Li loves him with a desperation that borders on madness. He doesn't even seem to register the severity of the boy's condition. He just pours his entire soul into it.
He really does.
I like to think of it as someone who has poured all their emotional savings into a single, incredibly fragile investment. He is so desperate for an heir, so desperate to heal the wound of losing Xiaowei, that he completely rejects reality.
Which brings us to the core psychological vulnerability of the wealthy in this context.
Okay, lay it on me.
When you have a person wielding massive economic power, but burdened by an unhealable, blinding grief, their rational defenses are essentially non-existent.
That makes sense.
They become the perfect target for a very specific kind of predator.
Right. Enter the antagonist. A blind monk appears, begging in the local market. But, this isn't your standard ascetic looking for a bowl of rice. This monk has a terrifying gimmick.
Oh yeah, a very public gimmick.
He claims to know everyone's deepest, darkest secrets. He stands in the street and shouts out what goes on behind closed doors in the women's quarters of the local estates.
Which is a massive violation of social norms.
Exactly. And more terrifyingly, he claims to control life, death, fortune, and misfortune.
If we examine the role of street mystics in this era, there was a very thin line between religious begging and outright extortion.
I can imagine.
This monk operates entirely through high-stakes terror. He demands highly specific, non-negotiable amounts of money from people. Tens, hundreds, thousands of strings of cash.
Wow.
The local populace is so deeply terrified of his supposed magical powers that no one dares to refuse him. They pay protection money, effectively.
So he's running a supernatural mafia shakedown right in the middle of the market.
That's exactly what it is.
And inevitably, his radar pings on Li Hua. The monk approaches Li and demands exactly 100 strings of cash.
Yeah.
100. Now let's put that into perspective for you. A single string of cash is 1,000 heavy copper coins strung together on a cord.
Carrying even 10 strings of cash would require serious physical labor.
Yeah.
100 strings is a staggering amount of money. It is a small fortune that would require a wheelbarrow to transport. It is a demand designed to be painful even for a wealthy landowner.
So Li hesitates. He loves his son, but he is fundamentally a businessman. He's built his life on negotiation, so he tries to haggle with a wizard.
Not a great idea.
Now, he offers the monk 10 strings. The monk refuses. Li bumps it up to 30.
The monk's demeanor changes completely at this point. He drops the act of the humble beggar, glares at Li with a severe, terrifying expression, and states, "It must be exactly 100, not one coin less."
The Li gets furious. He's used to being the most powerful guy in the county. He gathers up his 30 strings of cash and storms off, refusing to be bullied.
He walks away.
Yeah, and as he's walking away, the monk stands up in a fury and screams after him, "Don't regret it. Don't regret
It's
it."
a classic theatrical curse. But the follow-through is where the story shifts from mundane extortion to supernatural horror. The consequences are immediate.
They really are. Shortly after this confrontation, little Zwur, the disabled 5-year-old boy, suffers a sudden, violent heartache.
It's visceral.
The text describes him clawing at the bed sheets in absolute agony, his face turning the color of ash and dirt.
We are seeing a horrific scene of physical suffering induced entirely by dark magic. The monk has essentially flipped a switch on the boy's life force.
Lees is thrown into an absolute panic. He realizes the monk wasn't bluffing. So he grabs money, rushes back to the market, throws himself at the monk, and begs for his son's life.
But there is a detail here that is so revealing.
Yes. I need to stop here and challenge Lee's logic, because this detail drives me crazy.
Yeah.
His beloved son is literally dying on the bed. The demand was 100 strings of cash. In this moment of sheer, unadulterated panic, Lee only brings 80 strings of cash to the monk. Why? He has the money.
That detail is actually a brilliant piece of character writing by Pu Songling. It perfectly captures the ingrained psychology of a wealthy merchant.
Even in a panic.
Even in a state of absolute terror, even when facing a supernatural threat, Lee is trapped by his worldly mindset. He is still bargaining.
That is so wild.
He thinks he can mitigate the financial loss. He brings 80, thinking, surely 80 is enough to show I'm serious. It's basically 100.
He thinks the universe operates on a sliding scale of negotiation, like he's trying to get a discount on a ransom.
Precisely. He fundamentally misunderstands the nature of magic in this world. Magic doesn't haggle.
No.
A ritual requires exact components. If the demand is 100, 80 is as useless as 0. He assumes the monk's power operates by human rules of compromise until it is far too late.
And the monk proves that instantly. He looks at the 80 strings, laughs in Lee's face, and says, a large sum of money is not easy to come by.
Just mocking him.
Total mockery. He then coldly adds that there is nothing he, a poor mountain monk, can do. It's a total dismissing rejection. He rushes back home, but the damage is done. Zira is dead.
The emotional investment, that fragile hope for an heir, is completely shattered. And Lee's blinding grief morphs instantly into a quest for vengeance.
So what does a powerful landowner do when he's cornered by magic? He uses the only weapon he has left. Secular law.
Right.
Lee files a formal lawsuit against the monk. He takes it to the local magistrate.
The magistrate in Imperial China was the ultimate local authority. They were the judge, jury, police chief, and governor rolled into one single office, operating out of a compound called a yamen.
So the magistrate drags the monk in and interrogates him, but the monk plays dumb. He gives incredibly articulate, smooth answers, claiming he is just a poor, innocent beggar being framed by a rich bully.
He's very confident.
Oh, very. So the magistrate resorts to standard operating procedure. For the error, he orders the monk to be beaten with bamboo rods. Now, the text gives us a very specific, deeply unsettling sensory detail. Yes. When the guards strike the monk, it doesn't sound like hitting human flesh. It sounds like hitting tight leather.
Like striking the height of a drum. In Chinese folklore and martial arts mythology, this is a clear indicator of iron shirt techniques or magical invulnerability.
Iron shirt.
Yeah. The monk has cast a Taoist spell to make his flesh deflect the power of the secular state. He is literally impenetrable to the law.
The magistrate realizes something supernatural is happening. He orders the guards to strip the monk naked and search him.
And what they find is chilling.
They find physical evidence of dark sorcery hidden in his clothes. It's not just a spooky vibe, it's tangible hardware. They find 2 small wooden figures, 1 miniature wooden coffin, and 5 small colored flags.
I want to focus on the mechanics of these objects because it explains how magic operates in this universe. These items represent the literal tools of sympathetic magic.
Wait, how exactly do they work? Like, why 5 flags?
In Taoist cosmology, everything is governed by the Wuxing, the 5 phases or elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. By planting 5 flags, a sorcerer creates a micro-universe, a sealed containment zone that traps energy or souls.
Oh, wow.
The miniature coffin acts as a vessel for death, and the wooden figures are effigies. They are likely bound to the souls the monk has enslaved or the targets of his extortion. The monk doesn't just wish people dead, he builds a metaphysical mousetrap.
So by stripping him, the magistrate is essentially disarming a supernatural terrorist of his weapons.
Exactly.
But even standing there naked with his magical tools confiscated, the monk is still defiant. He still thinks he's untouchable. And this is where the story pivots in a way I totally didn't expect.
That's a great moment.
The magistrate, sitting up on his bench, gets furious. He doesn't just order a harder beating, he uses his own hands to form complex hand seals magical gestures and holds them up to show the monk.
Right.
Wait, I am stuck on this. The local judge just whips out magic hand seals. Was he secretly a wizard this whole time? It feels a bit like a Deus Ex Machina.
It feels jarring to modern readers, sure, but you have to look at the theology of the state in Imperial China. Magistrates weren't just bureaucrats shuffling papers. They represented cosmic order. They were the local embodiment of the emperor's mandate, and the emperor was the son of heaven.
Right.
Therefore, true secular authority, if it is righteous and properly aligned with the cosmos, naturally possesses esoteric power.
So the judge isn't just applying the penal code. By flashing those hand seals, he's basically asserting dominance on a spiritual frequency.
He is signaling to the monk, I see your dark, corrupted magic, and my alignment with divine imperial order completely overpowers it. The magistrate is wielding the heavy bureaucracy of the universe against a rogue, street-level sorcerer.
And it breaks the monk instantly. His invulnerability was a trick, a parlor game, compared to legitimate cosmic authority.
He is absolutely terrified.
He completely breaks down and confesses everything. He confesses to killing Zur, but he also confesses to countless other murders. He has been using his magic to slaughter people across the region to fuel his extortion racket.
A serial killer, basically.
Yeah. The magistrate ignores the monk's pleas for mercy and orders him to be beaten to death on the spot.
Justice is served in both the secular and cosmic courts. The villain is dead.
But the consequences of his dark magic are just beginning to unravel. Because with the monk dead, the containment zones he built are broken. The spells are shattered.
And that leads us to one of the most eerie yet strangely comical encounters in the entire deep dive.
The veil between the living and the dead has been violently torn open by this legal victory.
It has.
Right after the execution, it's dusk. The sun has gone down, the house is shadowy. Li Hua and his wife are sitting on their bed, exhausted, still grieving the loss of their son.
The atmosphere is very heavy.
Suddenly, a small boy, maybe 7 or 8 years old, comes rushing into their bedroom. But the physics of this child are entirely wrong. The text says he looks blurry, shifting like he's made of smoke or fog.
Right.
And he runs in complaining. He says, "Grandpa, why walk so fast? I pushed myself to the limit and still couldn't catch up to you."
Put yourself in Lee's shoes for a second. You are mourning your dead son, the house is quiet, and a smoky apparition of a completely different child just materializes and starts complaining about your walking speed.
It is absurd and terrifying.
It really is.
Lee's is terrified. Before he can even process what's happening, this foggy child hops right up onto the bed with them. Lee, operating purely on panic, shoves the kid off the bed.
Naturally.
And this is a brilliant sensory detail from the author. The boy hits the floor completely soundlessly. No thud, nothing. He has no physical density.
When at all.
And he just looks up, slightly annoyed, says, "Grandpa, why are you acting like this?" And hops right back onto the bed in the blink of an eye.
It highlights the sheer persistence of a spirit unbound by human boundaries. Like, can't fight him because there's nothing to fight.
Lee's and his wife bolt. They run out of the room, sprint across the courtyard to the concubine's room, rush inside, and slam the heavy wooden door shut.
They're trying to put a physical barrier between them and the ghost.
Exactly. They lock it, slide the bolt home, turn around to catch their breath. But wait, no, I mean, they turn around and the ghost boy is already sitting right there at Lai's knees.
He just bypassed the door entirely.
Looking up at them.
At this point, Lai realizes he cannot outrun a haunting. He has to confront it.
So he stops, catches his breath, and asks the ghost, "What do you want? Why are you doing this?" And the ghost boy sits back and tells them his backstory.
And it's a very sad backstory.
He says his real name is Zan, and he's from a city called Suzhou. He lost both his parents when he was only 6 years old.
Being an orphan in this society placed a child in a profoundly vulnerable position. They were completely at the mercy of extended relatives who often saw them as a financial burden.
Exactly. He was taken in by his older brother and sister-in-law, but they were deeply abusive and eventually kicked him out. He was forced to go live with his elderly grandparents. One day, he was just playing innocently outside the gate, under a mulberry tree, and that evil, blind monk came walking along. The monk used his dark magic to murder the boy right there under the tree, and then enslaved his soul.
The translation specifically notes the monk enslaved him as a Chang ghost.
A Chang ghost.
This requires some deep mythological context to understand the true horror of the boy's situation. In traditional Chinese folklore, a Chang is the ghost of someone who is eaten by a tiger.
Wait, I've heard of this. Doesn't the ghost have to help the tiger?
Yes, and that is the cruelest part. The tragedy of the Chang ghost is that it is bound to the beast that killed it. It must serve its murderer.
That is horrifying.
It actively helps the tiger hunt, luring other humans into the woods to be eaten. Because the only way a Chang ghost can be freed to reincarnate is if the tiger finds a replacement soul. It's a supernatural pyramid scheme of death.
So the monk subverted this tiger folklore into a grotesque magical enslavement. He was using the boy's soul to help him commit extortion, to scout targets, maybe even to inflict the illnesses.
Most likely, yes. The boy was trapped in the underworld, his soul sealed in the dark springs, unable to receive ancestor worship, unable to reincarnate.
He was a spiritual prisoner, doomed to assist a monster indefinitely, until Li Hua came along.
Right.
The boy looks at Li and says, "I was trapped until you brought the lawsuit and the magistrate killed the monk. You cleared my grievance. You broke the spell. And because you saved me, I want to be your son to repay you."
It's an incredible proposition, an offering of supernatural adoption.
Li Hua is understandably skeptical. He says, "Look, humans and ghosts walk different paths. How can we possibly live together? You have no body."
Fair point.
But the boy is prepared for this. He lays out his terms of adoption, and they're so wonderfully mundane. He says, all you need to do is clear out a tiny room, put a bed in it with a mattress, and every single day pour out 1 cup of cold porridge for me. That's it. Other than that, you won't have to worry about a thing.
That detail about the cold porridge is fascinating.
Why cold?
Because spirits are creatures of yin energy. Hot food represents yang, the energy of the living. A ghost cannot consume it. He doesn't need a lavish feast. He needs the bare minimum sustenance of the dead.
It's like having the world's lowest maintenance roommate. A tiny room, a cup of starchy water, and he's happy. It speaks to the meager, desperate existence of a wandering soul.
It really does.
Lei, perhaps moved by the boy's tragic story or perhaps just too exhausted to argue with the ghost, agrees to the arrangement.
He sets up the room, and the ghost boy moves in. But a ghost roommate is just the beginning. The story shifts gears here from a classic haunting into a deeply visceral, macabre resurrection.
The next morning, the ghost boy starts acting like a regular part of the family, wandering in and out of the courtyards. He hears the concubine crying bitterly over the death of the original disabled Zir.
Right.
The ghost boy walks up to her and asks, "How long has Weir been dead?" They tell him it's been 7 days.
Now, 7 days is not a random number. In Chinese funerary customs, the mourning period is divided into cycles of 7 days, up to 49 days. The first 7 days is the most critical period, when the soul of the deceased is believed to return home one last time before beginning its journey through the underworld bureaucracy.
So the ghost boy does some quick mental math. He says, well, the weather is freezing right now. The corpse shouldn't be rotten yet. Let's go dig up the grave and open the coffin. If the body isn't ruined, I can bring him back to life.
Think about the audacity of this proposition. A smoky apparition is casually offering to reanimate a 7-day-old corpse.
And Lai is so blinded by his desire for a son that he doesn't even question the logistics. He just grabs the ghost boy, and they rush out to the burial mound.
He is that desperate.
They dig up the freezing earth, open the coffin, and check the body. And sure enough, because of the severe winter cold, the body is perfectly preserved. Lai is struck with this deep, agonizing grief, seeing his son's dead face again. But when he turns around to talk to the ghost boy, the ghost has completely vanished.
The metaphysical transfer has begun.
Lai realizes what he has to do. He carries the frozen corpse back to the house. They lay the dead body on the bed. And the source text gives us this incredibly visceral, step-by-step sequence of resurrection.
He is very gritty.
It is. First, the dead frozen eyes suddenly dart and move. Then, the corpse croaks out a hoarse request for hot soup.
They feed it the soup, providing that yang energy.
Then, the body begins to sweat profusely, and finally, after the sweat breaks, the boy sits up.
It's a biological reboot. The ghost soul of the Zahn family boy is forcing the frozen, dead machinery of Lee's son's body to start working again.
Wow.
It's like taking the engine of a race car and dropping it into a tractor chassis. The outer shell is the same, but the capability is entirely alien.
And everyone is thrilled. Zura has come back to life. But almost immediately, they notice the massive upgrade.
The upgrade, yeah.
The original boy was severely disabled, nonverbal, and couldn't tell beans from wheat. This new Zura is brilliant. He is articulate, he is clever, he is agile, he is everything Lee ever wanted in an heir.
But this new arrangement comes with a massive, terrifying quirk.
It does.
The body is alive, but the soul is still tethered to the rhythms of the dead.
During the day, he is a perfect, lively son. But at night, when he goes to sleep, his body goes completely stiff, he stops breathing, he becomes as cold as ice.
Like a corpse.
The family turns him over, shakes him, but he is completely unresponsive. He is, for all intents and purposes, a corpse again. He enters a state of clinical death every single night.
The family is terrified, naturally assuming he has died a second time. They stay up all night weeping over the body.
But as soon as the sun begins to rise, he suddenly takes a deep breath, stretches, and wakes up like it was just a nap.
Right.
When the frantic parents ask him what happened, his explanation is wild. He casually says, "Oh, sorry. When I was enslaved by that evil monk in the Underworld, I made a couple of ghost friends. One of them is named Getsy. Last night, I fell behind when I was following you home because I was saying goodbye to Getsy."
He's explaining a delay in his soul's transit. He was literally hanging out with a friend.
It gets deeper. He continues, "Now that I'm back, I actually have ties in the Underworld. I was adopted as the heir of a wealthy underworld gentleman named Squire Jiang. So at midnight, they naturally came to invite me out to play. I just got back. Squire Jiang sent me home on a white-nosed horse."
This is a crucial pivot in the narrative. The underworld in this story is not a realm of eternal torment with pitchforks, nor is it an abstract paradise.
Right.
It is a bustling, incredibly mundane society. There are wealthy squires, there are play dates, there is transportation, there are social obligations. The boy is living a dual life, commuting between realms.
He's doing a shift change with his soul. Living boy by day, underworld socialite by night. But this casual conversation about underworld networking opens the door to something much darker.
It really does.
The mother, hearing that he's commuting to the land of the dead, asks the most painful question she can think of. She asks, "When you are down there, do you ever see the real Zura, the soul of my actual disabled son?"
This is where the story shifts from a supernatural thriller into a chilling philosophical commentary on fate and family.
The new boy just shrugs. He drops an absolute bombshell on the parents. He says, "Oh, Zur, he's already reincarnated. And by the way, he had absolutely no karmic connection to you as a father."
Wow.
The parents are stunned. What does he mean? The boy explains, "Your original disabled son was actually the reincarnation of a man named Yan Zifang from Jinling."
Yan Zifang. Now we have to look at the ledger.
The boy reveals a secret from years ago. Long before Zur was born, Li Hua used to travel to Jinling for business. During one of those trips, he bought goods from a merchant named Yan Zifang, but he never paid him. He owed Yan a massive debt. Before Yan could collect the money, Yan died. And because no one else knew about the debt, Lai just kept the money. He thought he got away with it.
But the cosmos does not forget. The universe keeps a flawless, automated accounting system.
The boy looks right at Li and delivers the most brutal truth. He says, "That disabled son you loved so much, he was Yan Zifang. He reincarnated into your family for one specific reason, to collect exactly the amount of money you owed him. He was born, he required massive medical care, he required constant attention, and it all culminated in the monk demanding exactly 100 strings of cash."
It's terrifying precision.
Once the account was balanced, once you paid that money and suffered that emotional loss, his job was done, and he left to reincarnate again.
I want to pause here and really explore the chilling precision of this karmic accounting. This forces the reader to fundamentally question the nature of love and hardship.
Right.
We like to think of children as blessings, as extensions of our love. But Pusongling presents a terrifying alternative sometimes. The people in your life, even the children you love desperately, are literal debt collectors sent by the universe.
Wait, that is incredibly bleak. Is the author actually suggesting that all familial love is just an illusion masking a financial transaction? Or is this just a specific targeted punishment for Li Hua? Because if it's the former, that completely destroys the concept of family.
It is a targeted punishment for Li, but it reflects a broader Buddhist and Taoist anxiety of the era. The idea of yuan-fen, or karmic affinity, dictates that people are brought together by past debts and favors.
Okay.
If the relationship is fraught with suffering, it's often interpreted as repaying a dark debt. Pu Songling is taking that theological concept and literalizing it to an extreme degree. It removes the romance from human suffering.
Lee's years of agony, his desperate love for a disabled child, the trauma of the child's death, it wasn't a random tragedy.
Yeah.
It was a metaphysical invoice executing itself across lifetimes.
Exactly.
It forces you to look at every difficult person in your life and wonder, what do I owe you from a past life?
It completely reframes Lee's entire existence. He realizes his profound grief over his son was essentially mourning the departure of a repo man.
But having resolved the storyline of the son, the family's attention immediately turns to their original deepest grief, the one that started all of this.
Oh, really?
They turn their attention to the lost daughter, Xiaowei. If the boy can commute to the underworld, surely he can find her.
He is their direct line to the bureaucracy of the dead.
The mother begs the boy to find out what happened to Xiaowei. A few days later, the boy comes back with news. He says, I asked around. Sister Xiaowei is doing incredibly well.
And she really is.
He reveals that Xiaowei got a massive afterlife upgrade. She didn't just reincarnate, she married into royalty. She is now the wife of the younger son of the king of Chujiang.
The king of Chujiang is a highly specific reference. In Chinese mythology, the underworld is ruled by the 10 courts of hell, each presided over by a Yama king.
Okay.
The king of Chujiang rules the second court. So Xiaowei hasn't just found peace, she has ascended to the highest tiers of the supernatural aristocracy.
She is living the dream.
Yeah.
The boy says she is draped in pearls and jade. Her hair is full of jewels. Whenever she steps out of her door, she travels with a massive retinue of hundreds of guards shouting to clear the way.
A huge entourage.
She is powerful, wealthy, and respected. The mother is thrilled to hear her daughter is safe, and she says, that's wonderful. Can you ask her to come home and visit me?
But this request hits a wall of devastating emotional reality.
The boy just shakes his head. He delivers a truth that takes your breath away. He says, people who have died have no connection to their flesh and blood anymore. They do not care about the living.
That's harsh.
When I told her how much you missed her, she just looked blank, like she was half asleep. She doesn't feel anything for you.
This is a brutal psychological insight. To the dead, the living are like a forgotten dream. The connection is entirely severed upon death.
Wow.
This highlights the fundamentally one-sided nature of grief. We spend decades mourning people, holding onto their memory, but the story suggests that they have completely moved on. Their apathy is an armor against the endless sorrow of the living.
The mother is crushed. But the boy didn't give up. He explains how he managed to break through Xiaowei's apathy, and he did it using a very specific, almost surgical psychological technique.
He didn't appeal to her love for her parents, because that was gone.
Right. He appealed to a hyper-specific sensory memory from her physical life.
He grounds her in the reality of her past physical existence. How does he do it?
He tells the parents what he said to the ghost princess. He told her, when you were alive, you loved embroidering twin lotus flowers. But one day, the scissors slipped and you pricked your finger.
A mistake.
A drop of blood stained the silk canvas. So you cleverly embroidered over the bloodstain, turning it into a red water cloud. Mother still hangs that piece of silk on the wall by the bed. She looks at it every day and cannot let you go. Have you forgotten that?
What's fascinating here is the choice of memory. It isn't a memory of a grand celebration. It is a memory of a mistake, a pricked finger, a drop of blood, an improvisation.
I love that detail so much. It's the flaws that make the memory real enough to pierce the veil of death.
Yeah.
You can't fake a memory like that.
No, you can't.
It's so intimately physical. The sharp pain of the scissors, the bright red blood on white silk, the creative act of turning a mistake into a cloud. It proves to the dead girl that her life actually happened.
And it works. The hyper-specific nature of the sensory detail triggers a cascade of suppressed emotion.
The boy notes that her blank, sleepy expression vanished. She was suddenly overcome with sorrow. The memory of the blood and the silk broke through her royal apathy. She cried and finally agreed to visit. She promised to ask her husband, the prince, for permission to go home.
So the promise of a visit is secured. But how does an underworld princess actually visit a mortal home?
Right. This transitions the story into a massive, multi-dimensional family reunion.
The logistics of this reunion are complex because the living and the dead operate on entirely different frequencies.
One day, the boy tells the mother, "Sister is coming soon. Her entourage is massive. You need to prepare lots of wine and soup."
For the ghost guards.
A little while later, he runs into the house shouting, "She's here!" He drags a chair to the center of the hall and says, "Sister, please sit down and rest. Don't cry." But the parents can see absolutely nothing. They're just staring at an empty chair.
The boy acts as the interface, the intermediary for an invisible reality.
He is running around directing traffic. He goes out to the gate, pours wine on the ground, and burns paper money. This is vital. He has to pay off the ghostly guards and servants who carried her palanquin, so they will go away for a while and give the family privacy.
Smart kid.
Then he comes back inside and relays a message from the invisible Jowie. And again, she asks for something hyper-specific.
The sensory anchors continue. What does she ask for?
She asks the mother, "That old green blanket I used to sleep under, the one that has a candle burn on it, right in the middle, exactly the size of a bean. Do you still have it?"
Wow, a bean-sized burn.
The mother, weeping, says yes and pulls it out of a trunk. The boy says, "Sister wants you to set up her old bedroom with this blanket. She is tired for the journey and wants to rest. She will speak with you tomorrow."
Again, we see the importance of imperfect objects. A bean-sized candle burn on a green blanket. These objects, scarred by human use, anchor the ghost to her past humanity.
But there remains a communication problem.
Right. Ghosts, even royal ones, cannot easily speak to the living in this universe. Their voices don't carry across the veil.
So Xiaoyi has to find a workaround. She has to find a vessel. And she chooses her former best friend, a girl from the Zhao family who lives right next door.
Yeah.
They used to embroider together.
The mechanics of possession here are distinct. This isn't a demonic takeover, it's a polite, negotiated borrowing of a body.
Very polite. Xiaoyi appears to the Zhao girl in a dream that night. She shows up wearing a purple cape and her royal headdress.
Very formal.
She tells her old friend, "I am a creature of the underworld now. If I show my true face to my parents, it will terrify them. So I am going to borrow your body to talk to my family. Please don't be afraid."
It's consensual, scheduled possession conducted through the medium of a dream.
It's like borrowing your best friend's phone to make a FaceTime call, but you're borrowing her vocal cords.
That's a great way to put it.
The next morning, the Zhao girl wakes up, tells her mother about the dream, and suddenly collapses on the floor, completely unconscious. A few moments later, she wakes up, but her entire demeanor has changed.
The possession is active.
She looks at her own mother and says, "I haven't seen you in years, Auntie. Your hair has gone so white."
The Zhao girl's mother thinks her daughter has lost her mind. But the possessed girl bows, excuses herself, and walks straight out the door.
She walks straight into Li Hua's house, throws her arms around Li's wife, and bursts into tears. The mother is confused, holding the neighbor's daughter, not understanding what's happening.
It's disorienting.
And then the girl says, "I was so exhausted yesterday when I arrived, I couldn't speak. I am so unfilial. I abandoned you halfway through my life and caused you so much grief. My sin is unforgivable."
In that moment, the mother understands the words, the tone, the specific flavor of the sorrow. It is Zhaohui.
They hold each other and just weep. The mother finally gets to ask her the questions that have haunted her for years. She asks about her life in the palace of the Underworld King.
And Xiaohui provides a fascinating glimpse into the politics of the afterlife.
She assures her parents that her underworld in-laws, even though they are terrifying deities who judge the dead, are actually very kind to her. Her husband, the prince, loves her deeply, and there is no jealousy in the palace.
It humanizes the terrifying bureaucracy of death. But the author includes a detail during this conversation that is absolutely brilliant.
Yes. As the possessed Zhao girl is talking, reassuring her parents, she keeps resting her chin on her hand. The text points out that this was Xiaohui's signature physical habit when she was alive. Whenever she talked, she leaned her chin on her hand.
That detail unpacks how muscle memory and soul memory intersect in this lore.
Oh, how so?
The soul of Xiaohui is so potent that it is overriding the physical habits of the Zhao girl's body. It's a subtle, irrefutable proof of identity. The parents aren't just hearing their daughter, they are seeing her specific mannerisms mapped onto another person's skeleton.
It's a beautiful reunion. After a while, the little ghost boy, Zur, comes running in and says, "The guards are back to pick you up, sister."
Time's up.
Xiaohui stands up, weeps, bows to her parents, and says, "I must go." She collapses to the floor. After a few minutes, the real Zhao girl wakes up, completely fine, and the position is over.
It provides closure. The grief that defined the beginning of the story has been addressed. The daughter is safe, the debt collector's son is gone, and they have a new, filial ghost son living with them.
But the story doesn't end with this peaceful resolution.
No, because operating this close to the underworld carries massive ongoing risks.
A few months later, the veil between the worlds becomes a huge liability. Li Hua, the father, falls violently ill, and it's not a normal sickness. No medicine works. He is rapidly declining.
He's dying.
Little Zura comes to the mother and delivers a grim prognosis. He says father might not survive the night.
Because Zur, commuting every night to the underworld, can see what the human doctors cannot.
Zura sees two terrifying enforcer ghosts sitting right by Liwa's bed. And these aren't friendly spirits.
No, they are not.
One is holding a heavy iron baton, and the other is holding a hemp rope about 4 or 5 feet long. These are the Reapers. They are there to beat Li's soul out of his body and drag it to the courts of hell.
Right.
Zur says he's been begging them day and night to leave, but they refuse. The time is up.
The cosmic bureaucracy has issued a death warrant for Li Hua. The enforcers are just blue-collar workers there to execute the paperwork. They cannot be bribed by mortal tears.
The mother starts crying and begins preparing the burial clothes. It seems hopeless. But as night falls, the climax of the story unfolds, and it is a masterclass in the comedy of nepotism.
It is deeply cynical and absolutely hilarious if you understand the political satire.
Zur comes rushing into the room and yells at all the servants and women to get out. He says, "Everyone clear the room. My brother-in-law is coming to visit father."
Now, remember who his brother-in-law is. It is the son of the king of Chujiang, a high-ranking prince of the underworld.
So the room is cleared. A few moments later, Zur starts clapping his hands and laughing hysterically.
Just cracking up.
The mother asks what's so funny. Zur says, "I'm laughing at those two tough enforcer ghosts." As soon as they heard the prince was walking in, they literally dove under the bed and are hiding like terrified turtles.
You have to revel in the sheer cynicism here. These terrifying reapers, who were completely immovable in the face of human suffering and a son's pleas, instantly cower in the presence of aristocratic power.
It's all about who you know.
Pu Songling is making a direct commentary on the society of his time. The underworld is depicted as being just as corrupt, just as driven by status and nepotism as the real world. Cosmic justice takes a complete backseat to who you know.
Zur spends a few minutes talking to thin air, exchanging pleasantries with the invisible prince, asking how his sister is doing. Then he claps his hands again and says, "Oh, this is great." The prince saw the two enforcers hiding under the bed. He dragged them out and chained them to the bridle of his horse. Father's going to be perfectly fine.
The death warrant is summarily canceled. Not because of Li's merit, not because of karma, but solely because Li's daughter married royalty.
The prince tells Zur, "I will go back and tell the great king to extend your parents' lives by 100 years.
100 years.
And just like that, the prince leaves, dragging the enforcers behind his horse. The very next day, Li Hua wakes up completely cured. The family is ecstatic. They have literally cheated death through a supernatural marriage alliance.
It is a stunning subversion of the karmic ledger we discussed earlier.
Well, yeah. Earlier he was punished because the ledger demanded it.
The universe was an unyielding accountant. Now he escapes death entirely because his family married into the bureaucracy that writes the ledger. It's a very pragmatic, almost satirical view of divine justice. Rules are absolute unless you are rich and connected.
So they live happily ever after. Well, not quite. The story wraps up by exploring the long-term consequences for a mortal who remains tethered to the underworld. Because there is always a price for this kind of knowledge.
You cannot operate outside the boundaries of nature forever. The universe eventually audits the auditors.
We jump forward in time. Zur grows up. Remember, he's incredibly smart now. At the age of 18, he becomes a recognized scholar entering the county school. But he still has his supernatural ability.
He can still see the underworld.
And he uses this to help his community.
Yeah.
When someone in the village gets sick, Zur goes to look at them. He can see exactly where the malicious ghosts are attaching themselves to the sick person's body. He just points to the spot, they burn it with moxa, and the person is instantly cured. He becomes a miracle healer.
He is using privileged, classified information from the realm of the dead to alter the fate of the living. He is essentially insider trading on human lives.
So what does this all mean? I'm using my catchphrase here because this is where the hammer falls.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, Zur falls violently ill. And it's a terrifying illness. His skin turns mottled deep blue and purple all over his body, like he's been severely beaten with clubs.
He's been severely beaten.
He tells his family, The gods and ghosts of the underworld are punishing me. They are beating me for leaking their secrets to the living.
This brings us to the concept of the cosmic NDA, the non-disclosure agreement.
Right.
Zur pushed his luck too far. He thought that because he had a royal brother-in-law and a wealthy underworld adoptive father, he could act with impunity.
But he can't.
While you can cheat the system for a little while using local underworld nepotism, ultimate cosmic law demands balance. The separation between the living and the dead must be maintained. You cannot have a mortal casually pointing out invisible spirits and overturning the natural order of disease and death.
The universe finally issues a cease and desist order.
Yeah.
And it is entirely physical. He is beaten blue and purple by invisible forces until he learns his lesson. And from that day forward, Zur never speaks a single word about the underworld ever again. He shuts the door completely.